All right, what's going on, everybody? Appreciate y'all being here today. James Owens here, your ABX audio file, and today we're going to talk about the new to me Emotiva MC1 Home Theater Processor. And I couldn't find a lot of reviews about these, and so I just wanted to kind of take a couple minutes and talk about it and kind of give you my experience and my thoughts on it. I've always had AVRs in the past, cheap ones, expensive ones, you know, anywhere from $300 to $1,500. Never really had any with preamp outputs, so kind of on that higher range there, or maybe just a very simple preamp output, but not like a full array of preamp outputs and stuff like that. So I decided to, after looking into and kind of watching the Emotiva stuff go for a long time, step up and jump into the basics MC1, get rid of the old AVR that I had, and I paired it with an A7 amplifier. So I'm just going to give you kind of my thoughts about the MC1. I got the Emotiva website up right now, 13.2 channel, Dolby Atmos, DTS-X, so it's got all of the most current surround sound processing stuff. It's a really, really cool unit. And I'm going to show it to you here. I've got a picture of the front panel here. So here it is actually in my home theater that we just got set up a couple days ago. Standard Emotiva fashion. It's got the brushed aluminum, dark, industrial look, which I really love. And then you can see it sitting on top of the A7 amplifier. And before all of you haters come in and be like, oh, why you sit it on top of the amp? It's going to get hot. Emotiva amps run super, super cool. It's got built-in fans, cooling system, heat activated. I'm not worried about it at all. There's a good inch of space in there. But so the front plate on this thing is super nice. Brushed aluminum, nice display. You've got the clear, crisp, blue coloring that we're all kind of used to. The knob feels really good. It's kind of knurled around the edges, so you get a really good grip on it. Feels really substantial. The buttons give a good audible click. They seem really hefty, and it just really has that good Emotiva look and vibe to it. So just a great offering from the basics line, and I am really enjoying it personally. If we look at the back of this thing, you can see there, don't mind the dust, I just I was just setting it up, but there is the MC1 sitting on top of the A7. I ordered a full set of the CESS interconnects off Amazon. I don't know, they were like $6-7 a pair, but they're I think they're like 12 gauge, oh, maybe 16 gauge, I can't remember. I've ordered so many cables and last couple weeks, but anyway, nice set of interconnects. They're 1-footers, so they jump really nice, not a lot of excess material there. So you can see that you've got a nice array of RCA interconnects there to go to the amp. What you'll see is missing is XLR. If you're into the XLR thing, you're not going to get that here. I don't think you could even get that for under $1,000 in any unit. Maybe it exists, I'm not sure, but I don't really worry about the balanced outputs. So just standard RCA connects there. You can see the full lineup of the HDMI inputs. So you can have multiple sources go into this thing. One of the really cool features that I like about this Emotiva processor is that you can adjust each individual input and the sound signature. So you can calibrate them each differently. You can set one to be DTS. You can set one to be Dolby. You could set one to be 2-channel pure and EQ it, so that anytime you switch to streaming music or another video source or another audio source, they're already kind of calibrated for you. So you can go into each input in this thing and adjust it and save it manually, which is really, really cool. You do have balanced outs for the subs. If you wanted to do that, it is a 13.2, so you could have 2 subs with it. This is prior to me kind of finishing hooking it all up, so you'll see that the sub cable is missing, but I just use RCA as well. So standard plug, you got your main switch on the back, you got your Bluetooth antenna there. Just really nice fit and finish. All of the plugs in the back were really, really just solid. Nothing was jiggling or loose, or you put the RCA in, everything's really nice and tight. So whatever materials and build they're using there is really good. You got a bunch of different optical stuff going on there, and overall just a really, really cool unit. So that's kind of the back panel of the MC1. As you get into, this was one of the things that when I was kind of first dealing with this and plugging it in and getting into the remote, I heard a lot of people say, oh, the user interface is horrible, the remote doesn't work very well, it's just really, really confusing. If you just read through the manual, there's like a couple pages, just read the manual, actually read the manual. And then Emotiva does a great job because on their YouTube page, Brent does a series of 3 videos that walks you through the entire calibration process here. So once I kind of consumed that information, I got the remote in my hand. I started navigating through the different setup procedures and options in this thing. It was a breeze. I hit a few wrong buttons because every remote kind of acts differently, but after a couple wrong pushes, I was navigating back and forth and up and down and kind of going through and setting this thing up real nice. So I would say from the time that I set that on the entertainment center and turned on the power, kind of made sure everything was working, had all of the cables connected and everything, it was less than a half an hour and I was watching movies. It was fully calibrated. And everything was said and done. One of the really cool things you can see here in this photo is the curve. So basically, in the correction software, it'll play the tones like it usually does. It gets the room signature basically, and then it starts to make adjustments to really get that thing leveled out and make as flat of a response as it can. And it does a really good job. So you run it through the initial one. And then it doesn't just stop there. You actually go through a whole nother series of tests where you actually pick the microphone up in the listening position, you aim it to the speaker, and then you run through each speaker individually all the way around, including the sub, and it further adjusts for that curve and really gets that room kind of blended in really nice. Excuse me. But I'll tell you, after just running that calibration and doing nothing else, I sat down and I watched the intro of Mad Max, the new one, about 5 minutes of that. And if you've watched that movie, you know that is just an insane surround sound experience. I mean, it is just wild. And then we put in Dune, about the first 3 minutes of Dune, the new Dune movie. It is just, it's got this vast range of high frequency, low frequency, a bunch of mids. I mean, it just smacks your speakers around, and it was a phenomenal experience. And then what else? The new Blade Runner. We watched the first part of that, a couple other different spaces in there, and I'll tell you what, man, I was grinning from ear to ear, and I had never had that great of an initial experience with any AVR that I had ever had. And granted, I never had any super high-end, $3,000 AVRs with, all this fancy stuff. But, for your base budget processor, you just can't be beat. And you know how we do things here at the ABX Audiophile. It's all about cheap. It's all about putting together the best sounding system that you possibly can for the money. And what better company to do it with than Emotiva? So I've kind of been watching on the back, just kind of watching the processors and waiting. They've had some software issues and some things like that. A lot of people complain, oh, well, you don't have HDMI 2.1 and you don't have Dirac Live and whatever all this other stuff is. And it's like, dude, it's a processor, 13.2 channels for under $1,000. You get an amazing value for what it is here. So anyway, here it is in the whole front system. I'll bring a photo up here. There's the full system right there. You can see that we've got it paired with these are the original Emotiva AirMotiv T2s. And then I've got their newer SE12 sub. It's not their fancy schmancy line. It's, again, everything's cheap and basic here, what we do. And then I picked up the C1 Plus, which is a phenomenal center speaker for what it is. I mean, it's for my little room, that thing is just absolutely perfect. Vocals are clear, everything's good. So yeah, that's kind of my review on the MC1 processor. If you're interested in something like that, they've got it listed at basically $1,000, $1,099. I picked it up on the Friends and Family, and I got the A7 amp with it, so I got it for I don't know, it was like 15% off, so it was under $1,000. But at the end of the day, you're going to be hard pressed to find a 13.2 channel cinema processor for under $1,000. I mean, you could look at the there's a couple new ones out that are about $1,400, and maybe you start to get into some XLR, and you might even start touching HDMI to 1.2. But I don't know. That's just my thoughts, and I think it's an absolute value. And I hope you appreciated this video. We'll see you next time. ABX Audiophile out.